Some people say that dogs are man's best friend, but many would argue that cats are truly the greatest and most majestic human allies on Earth. They are affectionate and fluffy, but also low maintenance, and they also serve a very key purpose for humanity. In this video, we'll take a deeper look at humanity's rich history with cats throughout the ages and what role they may play in the future. Let's start at the beginning. Where did humanity's relationship with cats begin? That's an interesting question and one that is shrouded in a bit of mystery. In recent years, archaeologists discovered a human and a cat together in a burial site on the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. This grave is dated to be 9,500 years old, making this the oldest known example of man and feline's relationship. Also interesting is cats are not native to Cyprus, so it appears that people may have brought them to the island, implying that at this point in history, cats were already assuming the role of pets. However, what if there is something more mysterious or mystical at play? What if it wasn't humans that brought cats to Cyprus? Perhaps cats are divine, godlike species and people back then understood this. After all, a few centuries later, the Egyptians were worshipping cats. It also seems to be one of the first times that people became friendly with animals instead of seeing them as a predator or as prey. Perhaps this union has implications far into humanity's future. But we'll get into that later in the video. Years later, this trend of cats as godlike creatures continued in ancient Egypt. Cats were found in tombs with humans, implying they could have a positive effect on the afterlife of their human companions. We can learn a lot about how Egyptians looked at cats by studying Egyptian art, which often featured cats lounging around, but also chasing and fighting off pests such as mice and snakes. This is key to human beings and cats striking up a common ground deal. Humans would help take care of cats, providing them shelter and perhaps water, while the cats would prowl around, killing pests like mice and rats and birds and more. This is especially important in farming areas as agriculture began in human societies, where cats were especially helpful in protecting crops while also being cute and cuddly. This was a win-win for cats and humans and the known beginning of their bond. And besides their utilitarian use, cats also offered companionship to people of the ancient world. It's easy to see how a furry little friend who will cuddle up with you at night while also brutally murdering the pests that attack your crops could become man's proverbial best friend. The presence of cats in ancient Egyptian tombs, both literally and in the art that decorated the tombs, illustrates the Egyptians' belief that their furry friends would perhaps accompany them in the afterlife. And let's be real, if we can envision a heaven for ourselves, our favorite cats would probably be included in that scenario. The question is, were the ancient Egyptians simply hoping their cats could come along for the afterlife, or were the cats essential in the process of their elevation to the afterlife? And of course, there is the Egyptian Sphinx, which sits beside the Giza pyramids. The Sphinx is approximately 4,500 years old, 66 feet high, and 240 feet long. However, it is still not completely clear why or how this structure was built. It is thought that the Sphinx could have been built for Pharaoh Khafra, which may have been an attempt to immortalize Khafra's soul. And in a sense, they were successful, since we are still talking about him to this day. However, some scientists believe the Sphinx could be much older than believed, due to the patterns of erosion surrounding the structure. What if the Sphinx is far older than we thought? This would back up the idea that cats could be more divine than we realized. There's even the, quote, ancient aliens theories that posit the idea that visitors from outer space came and built the pyramids. Well, of course, the same could be speculated about a foreign race of cats landing on Earth and building a monument that embodies both feline and man. This could have been a coming together of the two species, a symbol of mutual respect. Regardless, we don't have many ancient monuments that still stand, which are representations of animals and man. Perhaps the Egyptians who built the Sphinx were trying to tell future generations just how important cats really are. However, man's relationship with cats wasn't always so harmonious, and sometimes mankind got downright cruel with felines. Because a cat can't be controlled like a dog made people suspicious of cats, and made them think that cats might be ungodly, since animals are supposed to be subservient to man in the traditional religious view. And black cats especially drew the ire of those who thought they might be associated with black magic and witchcraft and Satan. During the bubonic plague of the 1300s, it is rumored that cats were falsely accused of carrying the plague, which led to the mass killing of cats in the hopes that it would stop the spread of the plague. However, seeing as this would have killed the number one predator of rats and mice, the true carriers of the disease, it would have actually led to more spread of the plague. However, in recent years, evidence, or lack of evidence, shows that this is perhaps a myth brought upon by the modern internet age. It seems there may have been incidents of felines being killed in the name of fighting witchcraft or plague, but perhaps not nearly as widespread as many have previously believed. Years later, cats would once again become a strong ally to man during World War I. Approximately 50,000 cats were sent into war zones to assist the troops engaged in trench warfare. Now, these trenches were home to horrific conditions. They were long, narrow ditches filled with mud and slop, not to mention artillery fire raining down from above. These trench conditions also led to pests such as rats and mice that would spread disease among the soldiers, and bringing in cats had multiple purposes. One, the cats would fend off and kill the rodent threats, just as they had on farms for centuries. Two, cats could smell and notice the chemical warfare being used against the Allies before the soldiers could. This would cause the cats to flee, thus alerting the soldiers that chemicals were in the air, causing them to escape as well, saving countless lives. These cats played an integral part in keeping morale high in extremely stressful life or death situations. Soldiers often formed close bonds with their feline partners and were even known to name them and care for them between battles. Now, how many cats perished during the war is unknown, but their contribution to the cause is undeniable. Nowadays, cats are still a huge part of life across the globe. It is estimated that there are as many as 1 billion cats in the world, and approximately 375 million are kept as pets, many of them still fending off pesky rodents. And as someone who lives in Florida, we have 2 cats that often kill and catch pests such as mice, roaches, or lizards. But what is the future of cats? As humanity looks to the stars, do we have a place for our furry feline friends? It seems likely if we, as a species, ever evolve into a spacefaring race, that cats would be one of the first animals to come along for the ride. Sort of a Noah's Ark into space. Without room for all other animals, cats would be high on the list. After all, their timeless proven ability to kill and control pests could be crucial to traveling in large spaceships. And if we find new habitable planets, perhaps cats could be the key in controlling alien pest populations. Looking back across time at the Egyptians and other cultures that worshiped the cat, perhaps they were onto something. Perhaps they knew in the future space age that cats would be our only hope for survival in the face of deadly alien pests. Regardless of whether cats are godlike beings or simply furry little animals whose instincts and attitudes just happen to coincide with humanity's needs, our bond with cats is undeniable, and they have been a crucial friend to mankind for ages. So we should respect them and take good care of them, even if they are little assholes sometimes. But what do you think? Do you know any interesting facts about cats to add to the conversation? Do you think cats being worshipped in ancient times was a sign of something more than meets the eye? And what type of role do you see cats playing in humanity's future? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. For more content, check out darkfictionfactory.com. Until next time, take care.